let's get gray. Hi, Shanna Rowe Jackson here from Caution Artists at Play, and today I am going to be trying the 12 Shades of Grey acrylic set. This is a Jerry's Artarama exclusive. I did buy this on Amazon, however, it was an Amazon listing from Jerry's, so it shipped from Jerry's. It's the one place you can get it. So I will link this in the description below. This video is not sponsored. I just saw this set a while back and thought it would be so fun to try. It's beautiful and I'm super excited about it. So this is the 12 Shades of Grey set in acrylic. They also have an oil paint set that is basically the same thing. They're 12 Shades of Grey, but it's oil paint. So let's take a look at them. Now, I opened this already because I had filmed this once and then had a coughing fit because I'm getting over the virus. And so that's why this is already open, but I put them back in order and everything else. And yeah, here is the beautiful set, the 12 Shades of Grey. Now, there is not a ton of information on these online. However, I don't know. I just saw it and I thought it was beautiful. And I don't have the highest expectations. I feel like these might be like a student grade. They're kind of advertised as being an artist grade, but there's just not a ton of information. So let me tell you what it says online. 12 different shades of gray in a set of 12 or individually, highly pigmented triple milled colors. This set includes 12 21 ml tubes. And then there are individual acrylic paint tubes sold in 75 ml tubes. So they do have these open stock. So if you fall in love with a color, you can buy more of it and it comes in a bigger tube than what is in this set. It's perfect for painting shadows and grays, mixing without making muddy colors, spending more time painting than mixing for better results, practicing your painting, never seen grays like these in any other art stores, using them to paint the edges of wrapped canvas. So basically they're advertised as a convenience color because obviously we all can mix grays, but this is so you don't have to. And so the colors in this set are blue gray, brown gray, cold gray, green gray, gray mid, orange gray, gray pale, Payne's gray, red gray, violet gray, warm gray, and yellow gray. So it's a nice range here of colors. Super excited about that. They do have a color chart listed online under their description on both their acrylic listing and their oil listing that gives us the light fast information. However, I am not seeing any of the pigment information listed for individual colors. And so I'm not sure what pigments are used here. It does say that it conforms to the ASTM D4236, which is basically a safety thing. Basically, it's saying that if there's anything that is poisonous about the set, anything that can cause cancer, any of that, it does have to be mentioned, and there's none of that mentioned on the back of the set or on the individual tubes. So I am assuming that these are considered non-toxic. Obviously, don't eat them. You shouldn't eat your paint. And yeah, you can tell I've already been playing with some paint today. My hands are messy. But yeah, so let's take a look at each individual tube. This is the 21 ml tube. Beautiful paper wrapper on the outside. I love that it comes in a black tube. Typical twist off tube here. Beautiful colors. Now, each of these has like a swatch on the outside, but I'm going to swatch them so that I can see if it's accurate. The light fast information and the pigment information is not on the outside of the tube. I don't know if that would be different for their 75 ml tubes that are sold individually, but all it says basically is that it conforms to that guideline for safety, and then it gives us the name and a reorder number. So there's not a whole lot of information out there about them, but I'm still really, really excited. Okay, so I'm going to swatch, and I'll show you the swatches in a little bit. Okay, so here are my swatches. I swatched them in the order that they're in here. And I took just a piece of like canvas paper, or just a, canvas, just a piece of canvas. And swatched on that. I cut it down to size so I can put it right back in my box. And, excuse me, I'm sorry. And I did it on canvas for a number of reasons. When I do my project, I want to do it on a panel, which is going to be smoother. So I wanted to see how these laid down on canvas. As you can see, they laid down beautifully on canvas. They also feel very similar to like I feel like they're a medium-bodied acrylic. They feel similar to a Daler-Rowney System 3 acrylic or a Liquitex Basics. They feel very similar to that. And they dry probably in the same amount of time. So they don't dry too fast like a heavy body would, but they're not drying slow like an open acrylic would either, which I like. I am a medium body acrylic girl, and so this was perfect for me. I also thinned it down with water so you could kind of see how it looks once it's thinned down. And I left the brush strokes showing on the thicker parts so that you could see that this does maintain its brush strokes. So if you wanted to do some thicker brush strokes, you are able to do that with this acrylic. I normally work in thinner layers, and so that doesn't really do as much for me, but I wanted to show you so that you could see that it does maintain some brush strokes when you really lay it on there. So definitely perfect for that. I'm really impressed so far with the quality and the way it feels. I found it very comfortable to swatch and to work with. I also took the liberty of writing down the Lightfast ratings for each of the colors that are on the Jerry's Artarama website. Now, it does not say how they were tested. It doesn't say how they did their Lightfast testing. It just says that 4 is excellent Lightfast, 3 is very good Lightfast. So as you can tell, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of the 12 are excellent, and the rest are all very good. Some of them I'm very surprised about. Like, I'm really surprised that this purple has 4 stars. Purples are not normally Lightfast, so I thought that that was very surprising as well. But again, I don't know how they do their testing. I don't know if it's Blue Wool or ASTM. I don't know which way they do their testing. It does not state that on the website. But yeah, I just wanted to read one more little blurb about it, and it says, 12 shades of gray acrylic colors provide unique shades of hard-to-find grays. Highly pigmented acrylic paint from the finest materials and processed on triple mills, these acrylic paints will enable you to achieve amazing effects like you've never seen before. And so I am going to do a fun little project. I'm just going to do like a 5x7. I'm going to use an ampersand and caustic board because I love working on that surface, and yeah, we're gonna see how it goes. I'm hoping to do something a little spooky since Halloween is around the corner, although I'm not sure if this video will be out by Halloween or not, so we'll see. But yeah, stay tuned, and I will be back with my thoughts when I work on my project. I'll probably do voiceover time-lapse like usual. Okay, let's get spooky, folks. I'm so excited about this project. I don't really have any type of reference that I'm working from or anything like that. I have a vision in mind, and I did a little thumbnail sketch in my sketchbook, but mainly a spooky sky and some trees and a couple little tricks up my sleeve, which you'll see later. But let's get down to these paints. One of the main things that I look for in an acrylic paint is how they layer, and that is from a number of factors. The first thing that I look at is how well they adhere to different surfaces. Now, you saw that I did some swatches on some canvas, and it adhered really well to that canvas. And now I'm working on a much smoother surface. I am working on an ampersand and caustic board, and that can be a little bit trickier when you're trying to get something to grip, especially if you're working with a cheaper acrylic paint. Cheaper acrylics sometimes don't adhere as well. Their binders aren't as great. And so when you go to layer over a first layer, you'll have problems with lifting and chipping from the layer below. I am so happy to say that I did not have that issue with these paints. I absolutely loved them. And I must say they are fairly opaque. I think they all have at least a little bit of white content in them, obviously, which is one reason that they're grayed out. A lot of these look like tints. And so I'm not at all surprised that they're fairly opaque. I was able to thin some colors down to get a misty look, but as far as transparent goes, they weren't great as far as like glazing and things like that. They weren't the worst out there, but they're certainly obviously not the colors made for glazing. I think the one that had the best shot for that would probably be the Payne's Gray. However, they're all fairly opaque, and they're surprisingly pigmented for something that is supposed to be gray tone. I was really, really happy with the payout, considering. I am really pleasantly surprised, honestly. As I mentioned before, these feel more like a medium body. They might even be a little bit thicker than a medium body paint, but I'm really happy with it. I am not somebody who normally works with a heavy body paint, and so I like either thinner paints or like acrylic inks or medium body, and this was like right in that realm for me. Like I said, just a bit thicker than a medium body, but it was perfect for what I needed to do. I was able to thin it down with water to get finer details, although my details would have been a little bit better had I been able to find some better brushes. But that has nothing to do with the paint. It's really just the fact that I kind of just grabbed a mishmash of brushes and didn't have what I needed at first, and so I digress. But all in all, they layered really well. Like I said, there was no lifting. They're pretty opaque, so I was able to paint over things if I needed to. And they're actually very matte when they dry as well, especially when you're working with thinner layers. If you glob it on thick, then obviously it's going to be a little bit shinier, but I was really happy with the nice kind of dry looking finish, which also probably has to do with the amount of white in them. I think that the Payne's Gray, which is the darkest color, obviously is the shiniest of them all when you really layer it on there thicker. I did pull in one paint that is not from this set, and that is the Acrylic Gouache by Holbein, and it was just the titanium white because I wanted to have the extra pops of highlights in there for the gravestones and the moon and things like that. But other than that, I worked like completely from this set. I was really, really happy with the Payne's Gray and how dark I was able to get that, because that really helped out. Since these are all grays, there wasn't a huge value range, which I didn't expect there to be. But that is what sets the tone for the painting. So these are a great paint for like supplementing your other paints, as I mentioned before, so you don't have to mix grays and things like that. But also if you want to do a moody painting, like obviously here it was a no-brainer for something spooky, but I think it would be really great for a landscape, which, you know, like a cloudy day landscape or something like that. Very good natural colors. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for portraits unless you're kind of getting a little bit adventurous with portraits, but definitely great for nature themed things. And I'm really happy with the light fast ratings, as long as the light fast ratings are accurate. I do wish that there was more information about pigment and ingredients and things like that overall. As far as dry time goes, I was pretty happy with the dry time. I'm somebody who tends to work quickly though, and I come from a background of working in acrylics. And so if you are somebody who is used to working in oils, you know, they might dry a little fast for you, but that's because they're acrylics. They don't tend to dry any faster than any other acrylics. In fact, they dry a little bit slower than heavy-bodied, like I mentioned when I was talking about my swatches. And I like that because I'm able to paint over mistakes and fix things if I need to. And so personally, I enjoyed that a lot. This took me maybe about an hour to paint. I did it all in one sitting, and I was able to just truck right along because I had no issues with it lifting or moving on me. I could just paint right over it if I needed to. But I also didn't feel like they were drying too fast on the palette, and so I don't feel like there was a lot of waste. Of course, it's always good to keep a spray bottle handy when you are working with acrylics so that you can keep rewetting them if you need to, because they do essentially end up drying on the palette eventually because they're acrylics. But I digress. I am actually very pleased with the quality of these paints. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I'm overall overall very pleased with my experience with them. I am curious about their oil paints as well, and maybe once I'm back in the studio, I will get that set. They are very reasonably priced, both sets, the oils and the acrylics, and so I might try those in the future as well. Okay, so here is my final little painting. This came out just the way I was hoping it would. It is so cute. I almost wish I had worked a little larger. I'm just so tired. I wasn't sure if I'd have the energy to do even an 8x10 painting, so that's why I opted to go small. But also, it helped me to see if I was able to get fine details with these paints, and I was. I was really, really impressed. Overall, I'm very happy with the color selection, other than the fact that I think that I feel like the brown gray and the red gray are a little similar. Obviously, this is a little bit more on the gray side than this, but other than that, I'm really happy with the selection. I think it's beautiful, and I was really impressed with how well they laid down. I was afraid that they would be lifting up when I put colors over them. A lot of cheap acrylics do that, and I wasn't quite sure what the quality of these would be like. I'm really interested to find out possibly like where these are made. I'd like to know more information. That's really the only downfall for me. I wish that they had told us like who's the parent company that's making these? Because I know it's a Jerry's exclusive, but Jerry's has a lot of companies that they work with, like Turner and things like that. And so I'm wondering who the parent company is. It just says 12 Shades of Grey. It does not say, I mean, it says it's made in China, but it's not saying, and I don't even know if that's just the package that's made in China or if it's the paint that's made in China. So I just wish there was a little bit more information on the packaging and on the website about the pigment information, who the actual company is that makes them, and how they do their light fast testing. Because I think these are a really great paint, but I would like to know more, obviously, especially if I'd like to sell them. And this, I was able to do a fun little painting using all these colors, but I think that this is a great supplementary set for your other acrylics. Like I said, very like convenience colors that you can throw in with your acrylics or your other brands of acrylics. The only color that I used outside of this brand was I pulled in some acrylic wash, and that was just for the titanium white because I wanted to get the highest highlights, because the lightest color that was in here was this pale gray, and I would have liked to have maybe an even lighter color, but I was really happy with the darkness of the Payne's Gray. I was able to get a really good value scale just from this darkness. Otherwise, the rest of them are all very similar in value. And I mean, that's to be expected. They're all grays. They're not supposed to be, you know, high contrast or anything like that. But of course, obviously, I wanted some pops. And so I brought in my trusty titanium white acrylic wash. And this worked really well with these, actually. I don't think there will be any issue using these with other acrylics. So yeah, that's what I think. What do you think of my little painting? I'm so happy. I think it's super cute. I may sell prints of it, so check the link in the description below. If I have prints, it will be in the link. I think I'll probably scan it in. I don't know how large of prints I will sell of it just because it's such a small painting. But yeah, check my links in the description below. If you're interested in getting a print of this, I might offer it as a sticker as well. And yeah, I will see you next week. Thank you for coming along on this fun little gray journey with me. I hope that you enjoyed this, and hopefully I will be feeling a lot better next week, and we'll be able to give you some more upbeat content, because definitely still recovering here. But yes, thank you so much for watching. I missed you guys last week, and I hope that you enjoyed this. You have a great day. Bye. If you found value in this video, please feel free to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and share so others can see it as well. Thank you.